Have you ever felt like life's remote control is missing? You know that feeling, right? It is like you are just watching everything play out, disconnected. You are completely unable to change the channel or even press pause. You look around and maybe the dishes are piling up, the inbox is overflowing, the sheer weight of everything just feels too heavy to lift. It is that deep, unsettling feeling that something just is not working. You are stuck in quicksand. Every effort to move only pulls you deeper. It is so easy to fall into the trap of self-blame during these times. You might tell yourself you are lazy, unmotivated, or simply not trying hard enough. The world, with all its well-meaning but often unhelpful advice, tells us to hustle, to grind, to just push through it. But what if that feeling of being stuck, that heavy inertia, is not a sign of your failure? What if it is a loud, clear signal from your deepest self? What if it is not laziness, but burnout? Imagine a system overwhelmed, a mind and body crying out for attention because the fundamental pillars of your well-being have started to crack under all that pressure. We all know that feeling, that exhaustion that even 10 hours of sleep cannot touch. That anxiety that shadows every single thought. That gnawing sense that you are constantly falling behind. When life feels like a giant tangled mess, it is not about finding one grand magical solution. Instead, it is about untangling the core threads, one by one. Often, those threads lead right back to three absolutely foundational areas. Those areas are your sleep, your money, and your relationships. These are not just small parts of your life. They are the bedrock. When they falter, everything else, and I mean everything, starts to crumble. Let me tell you about Sarah. You would recognize her. Maybe you are Sarah. She used to wake up with purpose. A planner sat by her bedside. She had a clear vision for her day. But lately, her mornings are just a blur of hitting snooze over and over again. The heavy silence of her apartment feels less like peace and more like a void. Unwashed coffee mugs litter her counter. Each one is a tiny monument to a task left undone. A small battle lost before the day even truly begins. A dull ache sits permanently behind her eyes. Her shoulders are perpetually hunched, as if carrying an invisible, very heavy weight. She feels physically exhausted, mentally foggy, and emotionally numb. She is running on empty. The gaslight has been on for months. Here is the kicker. It is not just in her head, or in yours. Your brain is literally designed to get overwhelmed. Imagine your brain has an internal smoke detector. It is always on high alert for danger, constantly sniffing the air. That is your amygdala, and it is a champion at its job. When it senses any kind of threat, whether it is a growling bear in the woods or an overdue bill on your desk, it blasts an alarm. This alarm triggers your body's stress response. It floods you with powerful hormones like cortisol. This is absolutely fantastic for emergencies. It is truly life-saving, but it is utterly terrible for everyday living. For Sarah, her amygdala is not just blaring during emergencies. It is constantly humming. Consider the low, persistent hum of financial worries. The constant mental noise of 100 unanswered emails, the subtle, uncomfortable tension in a strained friendship. Each one is a tiny threat. Each keeps her stress response simmering just below the surface. Here's where it gets really interesting and frustrating. When this internal smoke detector is blaring, your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex, essentially goes offline. This is the part of your brain responsible for all the good stuff. That includes planning, making smart decisions, staying focused, and regulating your emotions. It is the brilliant conductor, of your internal orchestra. But when the amygdala screams, the CEO cannot think straight. It is like trying to run a critical board meeting while the fire alarm is going off at full blast. Everyone is scrambling for the exits. This perfectly explains Sarah's brain fog. It explains her surprising inability to make even simple decisions. It also explains her crushing difficulty focusing on tasks that once came so easily. To truly understand how to pull yourself out of that quicksand, we need to go deeper. Let us look inside at the astonishing machinery of your brain. Let us see precisely how these three pillars, sleep, money, and relationships, are not just parts of your life. They are fundamental controls for your entire operating system. Think of your brain like a highly sophisticated computer. It is capable of incredible feats. It performs complex problem solving, artistic creation, deep empathy, and planning for the future. But just like any computer, it needs the right hardware, the right software, and crucially, the right power supply and maintenance to run optimally. When your amygdala is constantly blaring, it is like your computer is running 1,000 demanding programs at once. Countless pop-up ads for danger flash across the screen. Your prefrontal cortex is trying to manage all of this, but it is constantly being interrupted, flooded with urgent messages, and redirected to crisis mode. It cannot focus, it cannot strategize, it cannot regulate. It is simply trying to keep the system from crashing entirely. So let us unpack the exact science behind how our three pillars either fuel this chaos or help restore order. First, let us talk about the absolutely non-negotiable power supply: sleep. When Sarah, or you, are sleep deprived, it is not just about feeling tired. It is about a fundamental breakdown in your brain's ability to function. Imagine your prefrontal cortex, your brilliant CEO, arriving at work after pulling an all-nighter. It is groggy and irritable. Its attention span is shot. It is trying to make critical decisions, but its judgment is impaired. It is attempting to regulate emotions, but it is snapping at everyone. It is trying to focus, but its mind keeps drifting. This is precisely what happens with insufficient quality sleep. Your prefrontal cortex is literally less effective. Studies show that even just one night of poor sleep can reduce prefrontal cortex activity by a staggering percentage. This impacts your ability to concentrate, solve problems, and control impulses. And what about the amygdala? A sleep-deprived amygdala is like a security guard who has been awake for 3 days straight. Every little rustle in the bushes, every shadow, every unexpected sound triggers an exaggerated alarm. It becomes hypervigilant. It is prone to overreacting to minor stressors. The volume on the smoke detector is cranked up to maximum. It is constantly sensing threats that might not even be there, or are certainly not as severe as they feel. This creates a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. Stress and anxiety make it hard to sleep. Poor sleep then makes you even more stressed and anxious. This makes it even harder to fall asleep the next night. Your body is also trying to clean house during sleep, removing metabolic waste products that build up in the brain. Without sufficient sleep, this cleanup does not happen efficiently. It leaves your brain literally clouded and foggy, like a neglected hard drive brimming with junk files. Quality sleep is not just rest. It is active brain maintenance. It is essential for emotional regulation, cognitive repair, and resetting your stress response. Without it, your brain is like a car trying to run a marathon on fumes, with its check engine light constantly flashing. Next, let us tackle the primal threat to our very existence. Something that lights up the amygdala like a Christmas tree: money. For centuries, our survival depended on our ability to hunt, gather, and protect resources. In modern society, money is that resource. Financial stress is not just about numbers on a bank statement. It is about safety, security, and our fundamental ability to provide for ourselves and our loved ones. When you worry about bills, about making ends meet, or about an unexpected expense, your amygdala interprets this as a direct threat to your survival. It is as urgent and terrifying as a growling bear. It blasts the same alarm, it floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you to fight or flee. This constant, low-level alarm from financial worries has a devastating impact on your prefrontal cortex. Imagine your CEO trying to focus on long-term strategy, creative solutions, and effective planning. Meanwhile, an emergency siren is blaring right outside their window, 24 hours a day. All their mental bandwidth and cognitive energy is diverted to managing the perceived crisis. They cannot think clearly. They cannot make rational, forward-thinking decisions. They might even make impulsive choices. These are often driven by the immediate pressure to alleviate the stress. This often makes the financial situation worse in the long run. This is why Sarah finds it so hard to even open her bank statements, let alone create a budget. The act of engaging with the problem immediately triggers that overwhelming amygdala alarm. This causes her brain's CEO to shut down. The emotional cost of financial stress is enormous. It leads to shame, guilt, and a profound sense of helplessness. All of these further compound the stress response and keep the amygdala humming in the background. It is a constant tax on your mental resources, leaving you with little left for anything else. Finally, we arrive at relationships. These are the invisible threads that weave through the tapestry of our lives. They are arguably the most powerful antidote or amplifier of stress. We humans are fundamentally social creatures. From the moment we are born, our survival depends on connection. It depends on the safety and security provided by others. Our brains are literally wired for it. When we experience strong social bonds, our brains release oxytocin. This is often called the cuddle hormone or the love hormone. This acts like a soothing balm to the amygdala. It signals safety, trust, and connection. It actively counteracts the effects of stress hormones like cortisol. This helps us feel calm and secure. Conversely, when our relationships are strained or when we feel isolated, disconnected, or rejected, it activates the same neural pathways in the brain that register physical pain. Your amygdala interprets social isolation or conflict as a profound threat. Historically, being cast out from the tribe meant certain death. So, for Sarah, when she snaps at her partner or avoids friends, her amygdala goes on alert. It perceives a threat to her social safety net. This makes her feel even more vulnerable and alone. This, in turn, amplifies her overall stress levels. The prefrontal cortex, already struggling with sleep deprivation and financial worries, finds it incredibly difficult to engage in the nuanced, emotionally intelligent work that healthy relationships require. It is hard to empathize, to communicate effectively, or to repair a misunderstanding when your brain is in crisis mode. This leads to a painful feedback loop. Stress makes you irritable and withdrawn, which strains relationships. This then causes more stress and loneliness, pushing you further into isolation. The absence of positive social interaction means fewer oxytocin releases. This leaves the stress hormones to run rampant. It leaves the amygdala without its natural calm-down signal. Your social system is like your internal emotional support network. When it is offline, your brain feels profoundly unsafe. So you see, these three pillars are not operating in isolation. They are deeply and profoundly interconnected. They form a complex web of feedback loops that either lift you up or pull you down. Imagine a set of three interlocking gears, one for sleep, one for money, one for relationships. If your sleep gear is grinding, it directly impacts the money gear. This makes you too foggy to manage your finances effectively. Perhaps it leads to impulsive spending or avoidance. That grinding sleep gear also impacts your relationship gear. It makes you irritable, less patient, and prone to conflict. Now, if your money gear is stuck with constant worry and stress, it prevents your sleep gear from turning smoothly. It keeps your mind racing at night. That financial stress makes you less present, more stressed, and often irritable in your relationships. This causes friction in that gear. And finally, if your relationship gear is seized up due to conflict or isolation, the emotional toll drains your energy. This makes it impossible for your sleep gear to find peace. The stress and lack of support from strained relationships can even make you feel less resilient to tackle financial challenges. This further impacts that money gear. It is a true domino effect. A problem in one area instantly cascades into the others. It amplifies the overall feeling of being overwhelmed. Your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex, is constantly being undermined. Your amygdala, that smoke detector, is in a perpetual state of red alert. The exhaustion Sarah feels, the brain fog, the emotional numbness, it is not a sign of failure. It is a logical outcome of a system under immense, sustained pressure from these foundational cracks. But here is the truly empowering part. Because these systems are interconnected, you do not need to fix everything at once. You do not need a grand, sweeping overhaul. Starting to move just one of those gears, even a tiny bit, can create a ripple effect. It gently nudges the others into motion. It is about consciously choosing to send small, consistent signals of safety and control to your overwhelmed brain. These signals, even if they feel insignificant in the moment, begin to quiet that blaring amygdala. They slowly and steadily bring your prefrontal cortex back online. It is about untangling one core thread, then another, until the whole messy ball of yarn starts to loosen up. You do not need to fix everything at once. We are going to focus on 3 simple, actionable tools you can start tonight to begin rebuilding your foundation. These are not grand gestures. They are strategic whispers to your overwhelmed brain. They are signals of safety and control that will slowly but surely quiet that blaring alarm. They will bring your brain's CEO back online. First, reclaim your sleep sanctuary. Why it works. Quality sleep is like hitting the reset button for your entire system. It is during sleep that your brain literally cleans house, consolidates memories, and repairs itself. It calms your overactive amygdala, allowing it to de-escalate from emergency mode. It recharges your prefrontal cortex, giving your brain's CEO the energy and clarity it needs to function properly the next day. It rebuilds your physical and mental resilience, making you less susceptible to the daily stressors that used to send you spiraling. How to do it tonight. Commit to a power down hour. For 60 minutes before you plan to go to bed, no screens. That means no phone, no television, no laptop. The blue light from screens suppresses melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it is time to sleep. The constant input keeps your brain stimulated. Instead, try reading a physical book, listening to calm music, or doing some gentle stretches. Make your bedroom a sanctuary. It should be cool, dark, and quiet. Even small changes like an eye mask or earplugs can make a significant difference. And try to set a consistent bedtime, even on weekends. Your body and brain crave routine. Consistency helps regulate your internal clock. It tells your amygdala that it is safe to rest. Second, Financial First Aid 5. Why it works. Financial stress is a primal amygdala trigger, directly threatening your sense of security and survival. Taking even tiny conscious steps gives you a powerful sense of control. This is precisely what quiets that internal alarm bell. When you engage with your finances, even briefly, you are sending a signal to your brain that you are capable. You are taking action. You are not helpless. This shifts your prefrontal cortex from panic mode to problem-solving mode. How to do it tonight. Acknowledge. Do not avoid. Pick one thing you have been avoiding. Open that one bill that has been sitting on the counter. Look at that one bank account balance for just 5 minutes. You do not have to solve it. Just observe it. The act of observation, without judgment, is a powerful first step in disarming the amygdala's fear response. Then, write down 3 essential expenses you must cover in the next week. This creates a mini budget. It is a manageable focus that reduces the overwhelming scope of your financial worries to something immediate and actionable. Finally, take one tiny action. Set up an automatic transfer of just $5 into a savings account, or pay one small overdue bill. It is about movement, not perfection. This small win releases a burst of dopamine. It reinforces the positive action and tells your brain that tackling financial matters is not just terrifying, but also rewarding. Third, connect with intention. Why it works. Social connection is a powerful antidote to stress and a fundamental human need. It releases oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, which acts as a direct counterbalance to stress hormones like cortisol. Oxytocin signals safety, trust, and belonging to your brain. It actively calms your amygdala and brings your prefrontal cortex into a more relaxed and open state. Feeling connected literally makes your brain feel safer. How to do it tonight? Send one meaningful message. It is not about asking for help, but extending genuine warmth. Text a friend or family member simply saying, "Thinking of you, hope you are well." This simple act of reaching out without expectation can be incredibly powerful, both for you and for them. If you live with others, dedicate 5 minutes to a micro moment of presence. Put your phone away, look them in the eye, and truly listen to what they are saying. Do this without interrupting or formulating your response. This deepens connection and creates a sense of shared safety. And finally, if you are feeling isolated, spend a few minutes journaling about a relationship you are grateful for, past or present. Rekindling that feeling of connection, even inwardly, can make a huge difference. It activates those oxytocin pathways and reminds your brain of its capacity for bonding. Your social system is like your internal emotional support network. When it is offline, your brain feels profoundly unsafe. As Sarah began to implement these small changes, something profound shifted. The unwashed mugs still appeared sometimes, but they did not dominate her counter. The heavy silence in her apartment began to feel less like a void and more like a peaceful space. Each small intentional step, whether it was turning off her phone an hour before bed or finally opening that bank statement, was a whisper to her overwhelmed brain. It said, "You are safe. You are in control." Now, let us consider what lies ahead. If you continue to ignore these foundational pillars, the worst-case scenario is a deepening of the quicksand. Your amygdala will remain hyper-vigilant. It will be stuck in a perpetual state of red alert. Your prefrontal cortex will stay offline. This will leave you struggling with brain fog, emotional dysregulation, and a profound inability to make decisions or plan for your future. The chronic stress will erode not just your mental well-being, but your physical health. It impacts everything from your immune system to your cardiovascular health. Your relationships will fracture further. This will leave you feeling isolated and profoundly alone. It will amplify the danger signals in your brain. Your financial situation will likely worsen. This creates a spiraling loop of anxiety and avoidance. This path leads to complete burnout. It leads to exhaustion that sleep cannot touch. It leads to a life lived in a constant state of fight or flight, unable to find peace or joy. But there is a far more hopeful best-case scenario. It is entirely within your reach. By consciously tending to these core pillars, you begin an upward spiral. Your dedicated power down hour will start to improve your sleep. This will allow your prefrontal cortex to come back online, clearer and more energized. This newfound clarity will give you the strength to approach your finances with less dread. You will take those financial first aid 5 steps. This, in turn, reduces the amygdala's alarm, making it easier to sleep. As you connect with intention, your brain will release more oxytocin. This soothes your stress response and strengthens the social bonds that provide crucial support. This enhanced connection can even inspire you to make better financial choices. You will feel more supported in tackling challenges. Each small positive action creates a ripple effect. It gently nudges the other gears into harmonious motion. You will begin to experience more moments of calm. You will have increased focus and improved emotional resilience. You will have a growing sense of control over your life. You will find that you can think more clearly. You will make better decisions. You will genuinely enjoy your relationships again. You will feel lighter, more present, and truly able to breathe again. You are not lazy. You are a complex system that needs attention, care, and a fundamental recalibration. By tending to these core pillars, your sleep, your money, and your relationships, you are not just improving your circumstances, you are rebuilding your foundation, one conscious choice at a time. This is not about fixing everything overnight. It is about shifting your identity from someone who is overwhelmed to someone who is actively, consciously, and compassionately building a life that truly works for them. You have the power to breathe again. Start tonight. If this resonated with you, if you felt a flicker of recognition in Sarah's story or hope in these steps, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more insights on how to build a life that truly supports you. Your support helps us share these important messages.